Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a deeply layered 9-line poem from June 2017 to explore some really profound themes about inescapable fate and, honestly, the human condition itself. Now, it's a short text, but man, it is packed with absolute philosophical gravity. We're going to dissect exactly how the author, Pierre Martin, takes us on this wild journey, starting from a single, dusty highway and zooming all the way out to the unyielding laws of the universe.
Before we start breaking things down line by line, just take a second to absorb the source material in its entirety. Let the structure wash over you. Notice how it starts out feeling almost like this grounded biographical sketch, but then, and this is a brilliant pivot, watch how it transitions from one guy's lonely road trip into a staggering universal truth in the second half. Keep that overarching structure in the back of your mind as we start pulling it apart.
All right, let's just dive right in. We're hitting the ground running today with this incredible hook. Big Jack tried to run away from his self. Right out of the gate, Martin isn't wasting a single syllable. This instantly plunges us into the mystery of Big Jack and his existential chase. And you've got to notice the capitalization of the word self here. It's not just his personality or a few bad habits he's fleeing, it's his core identity. It's his fundamental being. Talk about a powerful way to start an exploration of human nature, right?
Part 1. The Tribute to Jack K. The Microfocus. So we start out really small and intimate before the poem inevitably expands, zeroing in entirely on Jack's solitary, physical wandering through the world. But here's what's absolutely fascinating. Notice Martin's deliberate spelling of America with a K. It's a subtle choice, sure, but it is massive in its impact. This isn't the standard, sanitized spelling of a nation. By throwing that K in there, it emphasizes a rugged, vast, and maybe even unforgiving landscape. It completely strips away that polished postcard patriotism and leaves us with a gritty, sprawling continent. It perfectly sets the stage for a hard, relentless journey.
Part 2. Running from the Self, the Futile Journey.
Jack is essentially attempting the literally impossible task of outrunning his own identity, and the poem is about to show us the brutal math of that choice. We have this stark, tragic contrast happening. On one hand, you've got Jack's active goal. He is desperately trying to escape his own fate. But crashing right into that is his inescapable reality. He found that exact same fate waiting for him at the end of every back road he roamed. No matter how obscure the path is, no matter how far off the grid this guy goes, his fate is already there waiting. The escape is a total illusion.
Part 3. The Inescapable Fate, Empathy for the Wanderer.
Now, as we transition through the text, the tone just dramatically shifts. The poem stops merely recounting Jack's failure to escape, and suddenly it expresses this profound, heavy sorrow for his situation. Oh, dear beaten man. By isolating this fragment, we can really feel the narrator's deep empathy. The narrator isn't judging Jack for trying to run. Instead, there's this incredible tenderness, a real understanding of the pure exhaustion that comes from fighting an unwinnable war against yourself. Honestly, this is the emotional peak, right before the heavy, philosophical hammer of the poem drops on us.
Part 4. Archetypes of Suffering, the Universal Law.
And this is where Martin scales the narrative from one single beaten man, Big Jack, up to epic, historical, and totally universal proportions. What Jack is experiencing, it's not unique to him at all. Pacing ourselves through these final 3 lines, we see a masterful triad of religious and cultural archetypes perfectly mapped to their own unavoidable burdens. For every legendary figure, there is an inescapable weight. Let's actually break each of these down individually so we can really grasp the magnitude of what the author is saying here.
First up, the poem states that even an enlightened bodhisattva cannot sever themselves from the intense reality of a suffering heart. Now think about it. A bodhisattva represents the ultimate spiritual compassion. It's someone who literally delays their own nirvana to help others. Yet the poem tells us that even at this absolute peak of spiritual enlightenment, the burning, suffering heart remains. It's baked into their purpose. You just can't have the compassion without the burning burden of it.
Building on this unyielding law of existence, Martin points out that even Christ had to march toward his predetermined fate and bear his cross. If we look at the archetype of ultimate divinity and sacrifice, the path was completely fixed. The cross wasn't just some historical accident. It was the destiny that absolutely had to be met. The ultimate burden could not be sidestepped, not even by the divine.
And then he concludes the poem with this rhythmic, grim absolute. It proves that designated sacrifice and suffering just cannot be outrun by anyone or anything. A scapegoat, by its very definition, exists to bear the sins or burdens of others and face the consequences. By anchoring the whole thing with the word unslaughtered, Martin leaves us with this visceral, jarring reminder of the finality of fate.
So, pulling this all together, what are the big takeaways we've mapped out today?
Well, Martin manages to take a brief tribute to a wandering man and transform it into an undeniable statement about the human condition itself. First, a highly personal chase simply reflects a universal absolute. Second, fate will always wait at the end of every back road, no matter how fast or how hard you run. And third, absolutely no figure, whether mortal, enlightened, or divine, escapes their intrinsic burden. Running from who you are is a battle you will lose every single time.
Because the poem leaves us on that staggering note that nobody gets away unslaughtered, we really have to turn the lens inward. Are you wandering your own metaphorical back roads in a futile attempt to outrun your true self? It's a profound, maybe even uncomfortable question, asking us if we're unknowingly sharing in Big Jack's universally relatable flaw. So maybe it's time to stop running, recognize the burden that belongs to you, and just carry it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this completely changes your perspective on the inescapable nature of the self.